Hello fellow survivors, and welcome to the last little walkabout talk about episode 5. Wow, you can't really see anything with this lantern, can you? You can kind of see better with it off. Oh well, we're sticking to the aesthetics it provides. I thought I'd do one final little talk about episode 5 before it's released, talk about what's happened so far, as well as my predictions for the episode before I actually sit down and try it. As of this recording, the episode is out in less than a week. We're waiting for like 5 years for it. A lot of people are excited. I can tell that a lot of people are coming back to the game as well. My channel is actually seeing a slight increase in views despite me not putting any videos out. And I think that's because people are returning to the game and they're replaying the older episodes in preparation for episode 5. And episode 5 is out on March 31st. I think it is at 6 p.m. CET or 10 is it p.m. PS, well, whatever, 10 something PS Pacific Standard Time. I've got my time zones muddled up, but yeah, you can look it up. So it's going to be out on Tuesday, March 31st. And we're all excited about it. It's been a long time coming. It's a big episode from the dev diaries that Raf has written. You can see that it's quite big. It's they expect people to spend about 10 to 15 hours completing this episode, which is more or less double the other ones. If you've seen my walkthroughs of the other episodes, the longest one I have is a little bit over 6 hours, and that's a walkthrough. So this seems like easily could have been 2 episodes, but that's neither here nor there. It does seem to be a really large episodes, and the reason it's so large is because they have to wrap everything up. They have to wrap up the whole story with the hard case, with Will's journey and Astrid's journey, and as a result, Raf has also said that the episode is more linear than some of the other ones, where you likely will play in certain set pieces. Like you might play Will in one area, and then that wraps up, then you play as Astrid, then you return to Will, and now he's in a different area. So it's less open world than the other episodes, but there's still some open world. So it's going to be quite big, and it's going to wrap everything up. And one question that people have been asking for a long time, and I also get this question on my channel again and again and again, is whether the content in episode 5 is going to be added to survival mode. Initially, they said they weren't sure about that. And now Raf has addressed it in his last post, where he basically said, please don't ask us about it, because the dev team is very busy with episode 5, and they don't want to keep answering the same question. But the gist of it is that due to the nature of how episode 5 is structured, not everything they've created for episode 5 is suitable for survival play. And that makes sense. Without having tried it yet, it does feel like the way he describes it is probably going to be some areas or set pieces that don't really serve any purpose being in survival mode. And he said, but some elements are. So it's a discussion they're going to take after episode 5 is launched, after it's finished and polished. They will then talk more about how it's going to integrate into survival mode, if at all. My guess and my impression of this is that probably they're going to take elements of episode 5 and create a new region. Similarly, when they released episode 4, they also released Blackrock as a region in survival mode. And that little segment in the beginning of episode 4, where Will has his hands bound, that became Keeper's Pass in the connector region. So they might take elements of episode 5 and make a new region or connector regions and build something of it. But that does seem to be a new project that requires, reorganizing some of the elements and that sort of stuff. So is it going to come to survival mode? Probably, but not in the same form as in episode 5, and when and how it will be addressed later. Okay, with that said, the episode now is right around the corner. There's been some releases lately. They had a teaser which showed some footage from the episode and showed the Suzuki Tower and Perseverance Mills and all this stuff. There was also a cutscene from Astrid's point of view in Perseverance Mills talking to this bartender. That was released as well. The key art was revealed, which looked really nice. Some people thought it was AI, but it's not AI. It's made by the same artist who made the other posters. A really nice poster showing Will at the Suzuki radio telescope. And Astrid in Perseverance Mills. And the story is basically that they're on those two places. And Raph and Hinton has been in a lot of pressure lately. There were layoffs not that long ago where regrettably 10 people in Hinton had to be laid off and an additional 4 people did not have their contract renewed. And for a small independent company, losing 14 people is quite a lot. That's something that's going on right now. It's not really discussed so much in the media, but there is a job market issue going on right now. I can feel it in my work as well. I work in the academic sector, and not just with my work specifically, but in the whole sector, you can feel that they're not hiring as often. People are laid off. People are not having the contracts renewed. So it seems to be affecting game development as well. Now, Raph has actually, those of you who've been following my channel know that I've been planning on interviewing Raph for The Long Dark and talk about episode 5 and survival mode and the whole thing. And then nothing really happened of it. And the reason is just that he has been so busy with episode 5 and the stress of Hinterland and everything. But he did actually reach out to me and kindly offered to be interviewed actually this week and talk about episode 5. However, I decided to reject that offer because I felt that if we interview him now, what's on everyone's mind is episode 5. Everyone wants to know about episode 5. But he can only say so much because it's not out yet. So it will be limited what he could talk about. And with it being so close to release, I said to him, I think it's better if we interview him after episode 5 has been released, because then we can talk about it as a whole. We can talk about the story. We can talk about the reception. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm hoping to have an interview/conversation with Raphael on this channel in about a month's time. So if you're interested in seeing that, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and that will happen. So that's great. But yeah, episode 5 is around the corner. We're on the last stretch of it. It's been a long time coming. It's a very big episode. Raphael actually years ago, shortly after episode 4, said that the script is much bigger than any of the other episodes. And it's just because there's so much to wrap up, you know. Will has to get to Suzuki Tower and find Dr. Atwood, and he also has to get a hard case to Astrid, who's in Perseverance Mills, and there's a lot of things to wrap up. There's also Donna and Mathis and all that stuff, so it's just a really big one. If you haven't caught it already, you are going to play as both Will and Astrid in this episode. Very likely you don't have to worry too much about loot carrying over and all that stuff, because it's just going to go back and forth between the characters. How exactly that plays out, we have to see. But they have said that they estimate about 10 to 15 hours gameplay time for the episode, which is quite long. The other episodes are about 30 to 40 hours total. So it's quite big. It probably easily could have been 2 episodes, but that depends, of course, on the narrative structure and everything. Yeah, so that's currently the state of episode 5. It's coming out soon, and it is looking like it will be, so 6 p.m. CET on Tuesday, March 31st, which I think is 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. And most likely there'll be some sort of hotfix after. Usually when there's big releases like this, regardless of how long it's taken them to make and how much testing they've done, there will be fixes later. Especially if it's last minute discoveries. I mean, I was a playtester for Hinterland once for DLC 4, and they basically told us, like, look, here's the patch a week before, and if you see anything, let us know, but we can't change it because it's already been sent to, you know, Steam and validation and stuff. But no matter how polished it is after all this time, most likely there will be things they have to fix that only a large player base will discover. So expect there to be patches as well. And then after the dust has settled, or so, you know, say a month or so after the release or something, there probably will be more news from Hinterland about what happens with the Long Dark next, survival mode, Black Frost, and other things like that. And then finally they can say the story has wrapped up for the Long Dark, what happens next. And that's basically it. Now let's talk a little bit about episode 5 itself. What can we say about it? So I thought I'd make this video quickly just to talk about what do I think is going to happen. So I thought this is right at the precipice of release. Let's talk about what are my predictions for the episode. What's going to happen in it? Well, it's hard to say. We could scrutinize every little screenshot they released. every little piece from the trailer and everything and try and guess, and it's going to be hard. But let's do a generic guess and we can see what happens. And feel free to write your guess in the comment. What do you think is going to happen? Well, first off, and I'm going to mention spoilers there from the other episodes. If you have not played the other episodes and you care about spoilers, then don't watch the rest of this, although there's not that much spoilers to be said. But first off, from Will's point of view, he and Jace will be heading to the Suzuki radio telescope, the observatory, and he will basically have the hard case with him. And they're going to find Dr. Atwood, who was mentioned as early as episode 2 by Jeremiah, and he asked Will to find Dr. Atwood and give her the message Wintermute, as if that would kind of explain what's going on. And in fact, Raphael has said that episode 5 will explain what's going on with the Aurora and all that stuff too. And I think it ties in with the Tales from Survival Mode and Rooting His Tail, exactly how, not sure. So one thing that's going to happen is Will is going to find Dr. Atwood, I think. He's going to tell her Wintermute. She's then going to start making sense of something. And then she'll explain what's going on with the Aurora and everything. That's going to happen. I think that also Mathis and Donna, who we have yet to see, they will catch up with Will and Jace, maybe even at the radio telescope, the observatory. And then they have to maybe have a confrontation there, but I think what's going to happen is there'll be some sort of conflict there, and they have to escape from the radio tower, radio telescope, and there'll be some sort of avalanche maybe, and they all go down the mountain, and everyone gets buried except for like Mathis or something, and then they make their way to Perseverance Mills. And on the way, and then you play as Astrid. Astrid is looking for the doctor of the town because there is a sickness in the town. We know that the hard case that Astrid had, that now Will has, is the cure for this sickness, for the plague or whatever it is. Because Astrid is not sick with this, but they have other people who are. And Astrid, she in episode 3 talked about that she had access to this medication in her research, and that's what's in the hard case. But of course she lost it. Will has the case, and then Maffet has it, now Will has it again. And so they're going to make their way to Perseverance Mills. In the meantime, Astrid is probably going to try and figure out what's going on, what's the current status, what are people up to, what's the doctor doing. I'm guessing that Astrid is going to go to this lighthouse that's pictured in one of the artworks. And they're going to be something like, are we running out of medical supplies? Could you go to this lighthouse? There might be some left there from the old lighthouse watcher or whatever. And she has to go there. She has to go out in the wild and fight some timber wolves. And that's basically what she's going to do. She's basically going to be maintaining, I think it's going to be one of those community quest lines that we kind of saw in episode 1 and 3, where she basically is going to be taking care of Perseverance Mills to the best of her abilities until basically Will arrives with the hard case. And also, we don't know where the Suzuki radio telescope is, but it's perfectly possible that it's east. And remember, Blackrock is actually kind of east, and Perseverance Mills is also east. Well, I say east, but I mean it's to the right of the world map. It's actually south, because they say in episode 1 that it's to the south. But if you look at the world map with the long dark, that's kind of like going to the right. So south is to the right instead of east, if that makes sense. So let's just say then, and Blackrock is then Blackrock's to the east, I guess that would be. So it's possible that Will is also heading towards the radio telescope, is also in the direction of Perseverance Mills, if that makes sense. That's my impression of what Jeremiah said as well, that it's not really that much of a detour. So heading towards the radio tower and Perseverance Mills, kind of the same direction. So when Will leaves the radio tower, he probably will make his way to Perseverance Mills. And then at the end, there'll be some sort of showdown between the villagers of Perseverance Mills and Mathis and maybe his goons. And that'll be like the final showdown. Mathis will fall in the ocean and Donna gets eaten by timberwolves. So I don't know, something. Then they get the cure. And then they fix it, and then This is a long shot. Look, we reached the end of the tracks, by the way. We walked all the way to the end of the tracks. Huzzah! You might as well walk even further. This is a long shot, but I'm guessing that Atwood will come with Astrid and Jace. And they're going to basically explain everything to do with the Aurora. And when they get to Perseverance Mills, having figured out exactly what the Aurora is and how it works, I think they will basically fix up this ship and then they'll leave. Because the first artwork we saw of episode 5 was actually this sailing ship that leaves in the ocean. And I'm guessing that's actually the last thing that happens in the episode. That after they've done everything, after they've recovered the hard case, given the Perseverance Mill, treated the cure, Mathis and everyone is defeated. After that's all happened, they will then utilize the Aurora to get machinery going on the sailboat, and Astrid will, and maybe others, leave together. They leave Great Bear. They don't stay there. They leave and they go home. That's what I think is going to happen. So the long and short of it is, they find Atwood, describe to her Wintermute. She cracks the riddle of what's going on with what the Aurora is and the Quiet Apocalypse. It ties into Rudiger's experiments somehow. Mathis and them catches up to them. They escape, but then they catch up to them again in Perseverance Mills. There's a big showdown. Astrid takes care of the Perseverance Mills. In the meantime, she has to go on fetch quests to basically keep the town safe and finding supplies. And then at the end, they basically rig up some sort of system for Perseverance Mills to survive. Or the whole town leaves on this sailboat. I think the sailboat is the last thing that happens. That would be my guess. There's also a boat pictured that they might go there and loot it. So that's the gist of it, I think. Now, there's probably a lot more detail to it than that. That was a simple story, if anything. But if I had to guess, it's something like that that's going to happen. That would be my guess. Of course, you have to see. Final disclaimer. If you've been watching this channel, I have now completed the walkthroughs of episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. So all the previous Wintermute episodes have the walkthrough 100% completion with all the side quests, all the achievements, and a few other bits and bobs. So if you do want to play the other episodes and you do want to get a completion of that before episode 5 is released, feel free to follow my guides. They all have timestamps, so you can skip to any quest you want, see how it starts and ends, and just get the solutions. I will, of course, make a walkthrough of episode 5 as well, but it's going to take some time. It's going to be new to all of us. We have to explore it, figure out all the quests and all that stuff. Once that's all cemented, then I'll make one. So probably in like May or even June, who knows. Maybe before. We have to just see. So stay tuned for that as well. Other than that, I hope that all of you have a great experience episode 5. It's been a long time now. I hope it's everything you want it to be. I hope it lives up to expectation. And feel free to share your comments. What you think is going to happen in an episode. How do you feel about it? What do you think is going to happen after? What's the future of the Long Dark? This is really the end of an era. Finally, after all this time, the Wintermute storyline is finally wrapping up. But the Long Dark is not wrapping up. The Long Dark as a game continues beyond episode 5. And the Long Dark, the world, continues beyond episode 5. Into Black Frost. So this is not the end in it by any means. It's just the end of the story mode of Long Dark 1. That's what it is. Feel free to say what you feel about that and what you think is going to happen in the episode. I, for one, am excited to hop in and try it and have the experience of this episode and see what happens, really. That said, thank you for the walk. Normally I would do a campfire of this stuff, and I was thinking of doing it, but I actually decided let's just continue the walk. I did a walkabout. Done this 3 times now. I started with where the railroad tracks begin in Coastal Highway, just walking and talking all the way to the end here. And here we are at the end of the train tracks and beyond. And I think this is a nice place to just end it. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for the walk. And good luck in episode 5. And I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.